Hola, mommy. Welcome to Solid 100 Daily Builds. I'm your girl, Lisette. Listen, this is like episode 51. So in your face to everybody who said that I couldn't do it. I'm already halfway there. It hasn't been smooth. It's been inconvenient and annoying, but I'm happy to encourage you to do something every day for 50 days. I think I went through a training for book marketing strategy, which I have available on my website, rookiepublishing.com, for all of you authors who didn't get any training. Your publishers didn't give you any book marketing strategy training. I have an extensive one that you can buy and watch anytime you want. But when I was in that training years ago, I had to do speaking. Like I have a lot of public speaking experience as well. And I had to do I think it was like either 30 to 60 days corrido, like straight of lives. And that's where I learned how to do lives with limited, you can't edit when you're doing lives. That's where I learned how to do that. And for me to do 50 is cray. I've done, and you guys have been, it's on YouTube, it's on the podcast. Thank you for sticking with me. I'm still trying to figure out this background. Forgive me. But today we're going to be talking about the cost of compromise. Have you ever compromised so much, little by little, that you didn't even recognize yourself by the end of the day? Does that happen to you? I'm going to read. This is my new book. It's called Solid. This is a proof. It doesn't come like this. This was a proof. I'm still finishing up the editing this week, and it'll be out to everybody who had pre-ordered. If you'd like to pre-order Solid, How to Build an Unshakable Life, go and get your pre-order so that way we can get you your copy soon. So thank you to all of you who have ordered and have given me grace and patience during this time. I appreciate you. But listen, this is the cost of compromise. And I'm going to tell you why I'm talking about this, because compromising cost me 11 years of my life. This is agua de coco. This is coconut water. It's not wine. Yeah. It cost me years of my life because I wanted to compromise. I was operating in the flesh. I was making excuses for people, and I was ignoring red flags. Let me tell you something. There's nothing worse than being in something that you wish you were not. You know, in Spanish is a saying that's mejor estar sola que mal acompañada. That means like it's better to be alone than be with somebody you shouldn't be with, bad company. What seems like a good idea, what seems like potential, let's be real, because us ladies, we're always like, we love potential. The ladies love the potential of a man that we can speak into, that we can pray over, who we can love on, who we can serve. Because he's got big dreams. There's actually a word for that now. It's called, not breadcrumbing, but there's a word for people who like paint a huge, wonderful picture of the life that you guys are going to have together. And then it just never comes. And then you start acting like wifey, do all the wifey things, and you encourage him, and you tell him he's strong, you tell him he's wonderful, and you respect him. And then, you know, you're grabbing onto the potential. Like, we started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. It doesn't work that way. The people that you meet are who they are when you meet them. If they're not already here, right? Let's say like they say that they're here and they're like going up this way. I don't know. Personally, from my experience, you meet them how they're always going to be. Like if they're that way now, they're always going to be this way. Or worse. It doesn't get better. You're not anybody's savior. You know what I mean? Like you can't be like, somebody was like, oh, what if you meet up? I remember the other day I was like, man, these Italians, Italians are good looking. Those guys, man, they're very handsome men. And the majority are Catholic. Yeah, I was raised Catholic. And then someone was like, yeah, but they're the easiest to convert to Christianity. And I was like, absolutely not. That is not my job to convert my man to Christianity. No, he already has to be there. I am not compromising on that again. Because I lost you. I know what that's like, even a little bit. And sometimes compromise doesn't always have to be something big. It could be something small. Like I remember compromising on, and this is relationships. I'm not just talking about one relationship. I remember compromising on like how my partner had treated his family. And I was like, it's just banter. Is it? Because that's how they're going to talk to you. I remember compromising on alcohol because in my 20s, I was drinking since I was like 14 and smoking weed. And so when I got saved, I stopped it and then I backslid. And then when I hit like 21, I stopped drinking because I got into entrepreneurship and I was learning about business and we learned Tony Robbins and John Maxwell. And we were learning how like alcohol just doesn't benefit you in any way on a scientific level, let alone a spiritual level. And my suitor at the time knew I didn't drink, but I didn't know he drank at the capacity that he drank. And I was like, and you know why I compromised? Because when there's something that has to convince you to compromise, and usually it's sex, because when you have sex with somebody, it clouds your judgment. And I really believe that people in relationships that have premarital sex, it clouds your judgment on like the red flags. It clouds your judgment on like the little things that you would normally be like, nah. You'd be like, you know what? I think it's okay. Like he'll change. And it's those little tiny things, those little foxes that come in and they kind of weave their way into your life. Or maybe even it's the sex. Like you were just like, I'm not going to have premarital sex. And you guys start fooling around. It gets hot and heavy. And then like one thing leads to another. And then you're like, oh my gosh, but we're so in love. It's the Spirit. It's the Holy Spirit. And then you compromise on maybe this man isn't your same, this is big, that you guys aren't the same denomination. That to me is huge. You're not the same denomination. You go to different churches or you believe different things. One believes in tithing, the other one doesn't. You compromise. That's okay. At some point he'll believe in tithing. No, mommy, no. Those little things, the reason why you're compromising is because you slipped up somewhere and you're making excuses for people. And I'm going to read this. This is, I don't know what chapter it'll be next, but the cost of compromise. Have you ever found yourself compromising bit by bit until you couldn't recognize yourself anymore? Raise his hand. That's me. I for sure do. At first, it seems minor, and while everything in life and relationships is a compromise, am I right? If you want to understand the full weight of what compromise costs, not just you, but the generations that come after you, you have to look at Sarah. Sarah had a direct promise from God, a son, a covenant, a legacy, and she believed it until the waiting became unbearable. Genesis 16:2, the Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Can you imagine? Latinos would never do this, bro, because we're fertile, number one. But number two, we would never be like, mira, papi, go sleep with my friend to see if we can carry on our legacy. ¿Qué? ¡Qué locura! She did not abandon the promise. She tried to help it along. And that is one of the most dangerous forms of compromise there is, the kind that still has God's name on it. She took a divine promise and attached a human solution to it. Abram listened to her voice over God's voice. The result was Ishmael. You know, Ishmael comes from we're still seeing the lineage of Ishmael with Al-Qaeda, the rise of Hamas that we're seeing today. That's where it started with Ishmael. She thought a man whose hand would be against everyone, living in hostility towards all his brothers. That tension did not stay in Abraham's tent. It traveled through centuries, through bloodlines, through nations. The root of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the rise of Hamas, the generational grief on every side has a root. And the root goes all the way back to one woman who was tired of waiting, one man who did not hold the line, and one decision that felt like a reasonable solution at that moment. Sarah did not think she was starting a war. She thought she was solving a problem. That is exactly how compromise works. It not only chips away at who you are and the fact that you settled, but it affects generations. It can affect your lineage. In this case, it affects nations. The decisions that you make don't end with you. They end. They're generational. The fact that you got saved and accepted your Jesus into your heart as your Lord and Savior, that will affect generations to come. It doesn't stop with you. But also the reverse is true. Whatever you do in sin, or whatever you accept that the devil has put on you, or whatever you participate in the world, that also has generational consequences. So it doesn't stop there. It's like every compromise has children. Sometimes it's like literal ones. You know what I mean? Obviously. But not always. In a relationship you knew was wrong produces, like, this is just going on. I'm skipping here. Every time you compromise something you know is right, you know it. Deep down in the place where your truest self lives, you know you are operating beneath the level God designed you for. And that knowing accumulates. It chips away at your self-image, not loudly, not all at once, but steadily. Like water eroding stone. You start to think. You stop expecting the best from your life because somewhere inside you have absorbed the message that you forfeited it. Proverbs 25:26, like a muddied spring or polluted well is a righteous person who gives way to the wicked. The promise is still a promise. The covenant with Sarah and Abraham was still fulfilled, even though it was through Ishmael and later on Isaac. But Romans 28 does not say all things are good. It says that all things work together for good. God takes the compromise, the detour, the damage, and he works it. So even though he's not working around it, he works through it. So your Ishmael doesn't disqualify your Isaac, but grace isn't a license for you to keep compromising. It's an invitation to stop. So for those Christians out there who are like, the Lord will forgive me for compromising. Yeah, but it's not an invitation for you to continue to keep compromising. At some point, you got to stop. And this is your invitation to stop. Whatever it is that you're doing, when you're compromising, you have to know your worth. Do you know that the Lord, you're not an accident. You're here for a specific reason, and the Lord has an assignment on your life. For you to compromise that is a problem. And for you to think that, well, it's okay to be unequally yoked and it's okay to be with someone that I kind of wanted to be with, but there's not a lot of fish in the sea. You don't know. Do you know who your father is? Last night I had dinner, and I talked about this yesterday. I had dinner with a couple. They got married super fast, but they both got confirmation that was it. And the guy had made a list of 50 things that he wanted in a woman. And what was interesting was that I had made a list too. And there was only one thing that wasn't on the list, but the Lord also told me not to get married. So let's set that aside. So anyway, this guy made a list of 50 things. And one of them was like gems in the teeth. He liked down to that. He liked a woman who had gems in her teeth, which I had really never seen. We didn't have that. We had like caps. I don't know if it's the same thing. And so he meets this girl and she had gems in her teeth, and it was like every single thing, that box got checked. And then I hear the other side where like people are like, listen, like you can't be so picky. Like you can't just like, you don't know what he's going to look like. And I started to compromise in the last week or so on like, well, maybe I should just compromise because I really want a Hispanic. I was with my family this week in Boston, and it just felt like home. That just feels like home to me. And I was married to a white guy before, and it was just like the culture was just, it was just very different culture. Not to knock them. I love white people. I'm only a little racist, just a little bit against everybody. Like it's a level playing racist field for me. Like I criticize everyone, just like Hispanics do. So I was like, maybe I'll compromise. Maybe he's not Hispanic, just trying to do it in my own timing. And then I remembered what that cost me, just compromising. It cost me 11 years. And then I realized when I told this couple, like, I was just having doubts about that today. Like maybe I should just ease up on like this criteria that I have that may be unrealistic. And they were like, absolutely not. Don't do that. They were like, the Lord will give you exactly like down to the T, down to the things that you didn't even know that you wanted that aren't even on the list. He will give it to you. He's a good God. He loves you. And so the things that you believe in, don't compromise. I never compromised on my faith. When it came down to 2020, I didn't compromise on like, yeah, maybe I'll wear a mask to go to the store. I didn't compromise on the vaccine. I didn't back down when people were trying to come at me for speaking at the rallies. I learned my lesson when I compromised with my partner and chose never to do that again. And when God gave me an instruction to do it, and to do it with excellence, and to do it right, and to not back down. And every now and then you'll have the devil come in your head and be like, yo, maybe you should compromise because you ain't gonna find a man in this. And it's not my job to find a man. It's his job to find me. But, I'm like, hello, yahora, it's time. And it's not, the last time I rushed, it was no. Even though the Lord's going to restore my years, I'm okay with not compromising and taking my time and finding joy in the meantime and doing what I'm supposed to be doing, what God has called me to do in the meantime. The Lord loves you so much, and He created you for such a time as this. Do not compromise what He gave you. Don't compromise yourself. If you believe something is for you and you are to stick to your guns, do not compromise it for anybody. I don't care how good the sex is. I don't care how sweet he talks. I don't care how good of a communicator he is. I don't care how rich he is or how he worships. Do not compromise what is for you. Do not compromise the things that God is. You're going to have to rip it off like a Band-Aid. It's going to hurt because you've compromised. But now for the next one, you already know what to look for. I'm not compromising that. Even like sometimes, you'll see on an app, like there's dating apps, and it'll say drink, smoke, or I don't know what the other one is. I'm not on there a lot. I just check like what is out there. But it's really not that fun. It's not that great. Don't bother. But like you'll see like the drink. I don't want somebody who drinks. You can't drink. And I'll see this sometimes, and I'm like, maybe his good looks will make up for that. No, don't let the enemy deceive you into tricking you from obtaining the absolute best from the very God who created you. That's it, mommy. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Don't compromise. Love you. Bye.